It all begins in a different world, showing the bustling city outside as we head down into a workspace in the sewers. Inside, the MC reflects that it has been over half a year since he was transferred to that place. Holding his humble piggy bank, the young man laments having saved only 5 silver coins after all this time. Frustrated, he calculates that it takes years of hard work just to get 1 gold coin, which is the bare minimum needed to try changing classes, and the chance of success is next to 0. The boy remembers that 6 months ago he was just a recent graduate who loved playing video games, wondering when this miserable life would end. At that moment, memories of his arrival surface, recalling that right after transmigrating, he was lucky enough to witness the specialty of that world. It was an epic clash between high-level pros showing off absurd powers. The impact of that fight was so intense that it ended up throwing the young man far away. Shocked by the situation, he could barely process the sheer scale of power those individuals had. That sight was burned into his mind as a massive reality check on how things worked around there. In an instant, the huge gap between him and those who held true power became crystal clear. That was the most brutal welcome a newcomer could ever have. Just then, an older pro pulled him out of the chaos and took him to a help center, bluntly warning him that the boy was just an ordinary person with 0 talent. Back in the present, he stares at his monthly earnings chart, realizing those copper pennies are his only hope of saving up for that highly desired gold. Working every single day stuck in the sewers without seeing the sunlight, the MC feels like he is about to lose his mind completely. He reaches his breaking point, knowing he will go crazy if he has to keep up this exhausting routine for more years. Determined not to waste almost a decade of his life, the young man refuses to accept this fate in a world where a status panel exists. With determination in his eyes, he sets his ultimate goal of becoming a pro with immense power. Opening his system, we see the name Wu Ju and his very low stats, but what stands out is that he has an unactivated extraction talent. The huge problem is that managing to awaken this hidden ability is an extremely difficult task. Wu Ju ponders that this gift has been with him since day 1, but none of the research he did brought up any useful info on the matter. With this, he deduces his ability must be extremely rare, leaving him wondering if it can pull skills, items, or even stats. Grabbing a heavy metal pipe, he trusts his theory that defeating monsters should trigger the gift, which would definitely make him strong enough to break the rules of that world. Analyzing a scrapped piece of gear, he notices the item gives a small physical attack boost. Wasting no time, Wu Ju attaches the blade to the pipe, focused on doing whatever it takes to awaken his hidden talent. Armed and ready for action, the boy leaves the workspace, knowing this is his only chance to turn the tables. Soon he starts patrolling the dark, damp tunnels of the city's massive sewer system. Suddenly, the sound of something moving catches his attention, making him crouch down quickly. His instincts go off, having a very good suspicion of what might be crawling in those shadows. With all the care in the world, the MC peeks around the edge of the wall, gripping his makeshift spear tightly. To get a better view, he uses an empty pipe as makeshift binoculars and scouts the area ahead. Shocked, he spots a giant bristle rat, finding it totally absurd that a creature like that ended up in the city's sewers. He quickly recalls the manuals he spent the last 6 months studying, confirming the data and the threat level of that opponent. But a crucial detail changes the whole situation, as the creature is covered in injuries and visibly weakened. Understanding the scenario, Wu Ju realizes this is the biggest opportunity he has had since arriving in this world. He hesitates for a second, calculating that reporting the monster would only earn him a dime, but risking a fight could give him the money he needs for his class chain. Knowing he will rot in that place forever if he does not try his luck, the boy makes his decision. Focused on his desire to become powerful, he mentally prepares for the imminent showdown. Using his knowledge, he grips the makeshift weapon, knowing a loud noise is enough to provoke the beast. Without hesitating, Wu Ju strikes the metal hard, immediately drawing the target's attention his way. The creature lets out a furious sound, ready to attack whoever disturbed it. Taking advantage of the beast's distraction, the boy starts running down the tunnel, being closely followed. His plan is very clear, trying to lure the target right into the trap he set up at the hallway's corner. Calculating his steps, he guesses the exact arrival time based on the opponent's injuries. As soon as he turns the corner, he gets into position holding a heavy metal cover as a shield, knowing he only has 3 seconds before impact. The creature charges down the corridor at top speed, while the MC counts down in his mind. The monster picks up even more speed, closing the distance dangerously fast. At the very last second, Wu Ju plants his feet firmly on the ground and braces his defense. Unable to break, the beast fires its main attack straight at the boy. The impact hits the metal cover head-on, proving that his strategy of using it as a barrier worked perfectly against the projectiles. Knowing the monster needs 30 seconds to use that move again, the young man realizes it is the exact time to strike back. Panting from the effort, he pushes forward without giving the target any room to recover. He hits the opponent, fully aware that his low stats would not let him win in a fight of brute force. To secure the win, he drags the beast to the wall's corner, forcing a much more advantageous position. Using the environment to his favor, the MC jumps from a high pipe, gaining momentum for the final strike. With a determined shout, he focuses all his strength into the decisive blow. The makeshift spear comes crashing down, hitting the target right on the mark. The final impact is more than enough to take the monster down for good. Exhausted, Wuju celebrates the impossible feat of an ordinary person taking down one of those creatures. The system announces his success, and even without gaining experience due to not having a class, the boy is thrilled to see his hard work paid off. He notices the book did not lie, as 2 items dropped at once, and starts dreaming about the chance of it being a highly coveted dark scroll. In his imagination, getting an item like that would be an incredible treasure, because besides having a high success rate, it also lets you choose the direction of the new class. Excited, he knows many strong pros struggle to get one, and if he hit the jackpot, he would skip years of miserable work. Reality knocks on the door when he picks up the first item and sees it is just a small pouch of copper coins. A bit bummed out, the boy admits that expecting a miracle right off the bat was asking too much, since he did not even get a basic piece of gear. Pocketing the cash, he focuses on the creature's body to see if he can salvage anything else useful. As he gets closer, something strange catches his eye, making him quite curious. Using his knife, he makes a cut and notices odd marks, realizing someone purposely hid something inside. To his absolute surprise, the hidden item was exactly the dark class scroll he wanted so badly. Shocked by his own luck, he can barely believe he is holding the ticket to his future. A massive wave of relief and joy washes over the boy, knowing his chance to escape the sewers is finally here. However, his moment of glory is cut short by heavy footsteps and a voice ordering him to drop the item immediately. A large, armored man appears in the tunnel, threateningly warning him that this is way above his pay grade. Startled by the appearance, Wuju recognizes the man on the spot, remembering he was the exact pro who had rescued him half a year ago. Facing the newcomer, the MC mutters in recognition, while tension completely takes over the dark room. Wuju apologizes to the man, feeling the desperate weight of the situation. Explaining his sudden action, the boy confesses he simply has no other choice. Wasting no time, he smashes the dark scroll against the floor with all his might to activate it. The armored pro yells in shock, telling the young man to stop that right now. An intense, dark energy begins to wrap around the MC's body, who notices how the long-hidden item feels extremely dangerous. Struggling with the massive pressure of the power, Wuju vents that he spent over half a year rotting in that sewer and just wanted a single chance in life. The aura grows even darker as he states he cannot let this opportunity slip by now that it is right in front of him. Seeing the boy's pitiful state, the man questions why he activated the item right after seeing him, since his intention was not to take it by force. Completely baffled by the rush, the veteran asks what the real reason behind such a drastic move was. Shaking under the magic's effect, the young man admits that at first he didn't even dare to move out of fear of getting beaten up. But soon he recognized who was there, remembering it was the same pro who saved him months ago and brought him safely to the city. Realizing he was facing a good person, Wuju warns that if he ends up passing away there, all the money he saved will be left as an inheritance for the man. The system warns that the scroll was successfully activated and that the forces of darkness are about to test the user's soul. While rapidly losing consciousness, the boy promises that if he survives this, he will definitely return the favor and pay his debt. The veteran stands in the tunnel at a loss for words, finding it totally absurd that a kind person deserves to be used like that. Ignoring his frustration for the moment, the man rushes forward to try and help the boy in danger. However, the barrier of dark energy around the young man explodes into a pillar, brutally pushing the veteran back. The impact throws the warrior violently against the metal structures of the sewer wall. Far away, Wuju's consciousness awakens in a totally unknown place, and as he floats in the air, he wonders if his dream class change went wrong. Before him, a massive and terrifying figure sits on a massive throne, surrounded by a sea of shadows and an overwhelming aura. The boy looks tiny and defenseless floating before that overwhelming presence in the middle of the void. The system identifies the mysterious entity as the Dark Sovereign, hiding all stats in a clear warning of absolute danger. Paralyzed by the absurd pressure, Wuju fearfully realizes he cannot move a single muscle in his body due to the weight of the darkness. The Sovereign glares at the intruder from above, calling him an insignificant bug for having the nerve to covet his authority. Without warning, a colossal attack shaped like a red energy blade crosses the space straight toward the MC. Seeing the imminent destruction approaching, the boy grits his teeth, refusing to accept such a tragic fate. Frustrated, he laments that he barely saw a glimmer of hope for his life, and is already about to lose everything in such a pathetic way. With fierce determination, the young man declares to himself that he cannot just fade away like this. But the massive wave of energy hits the target head-on, tearing through the air and causing brutal damage in its path. The impact creates a massive explosion of dark power right in front of the entity's throne, kicking up a thick cloud of debris. The throne remains wrapped in violent residual energy as the flash from the attack slowly starts to fade. Surprised by the outcome, the sovereign notes the target managed to escape, finding that resistance interesting, but soon warns that the boy's soul will ultimately return to the darkness. Somewhere else, Wuju's body plummets from a cloudy sky straight into the so-called plains of the decaying. He crashes hard onto the solid ground of a falling-apart wooden structure, kicking up a lot of dust upon impact. Dazed and in a lot of pain from the fall, the boy just lies there trying to understand what just happened. His eyes widen completely as his mind processes his own absurd situation. In total disbelief, the young man slowly gets up and asks out loud how he is still breathing after clashing with that entity. The memory of that terrifying figure flashes through his mind, leaving him very confused about what that was. Just then, the unmistakable sound of a system notification breaks the silence, making the young man look to the side right away. The messages confirm the scroll worked, detailing that he entered a secret realm and was given the tough mission of surviving for 3 whole days to be able to leave. Reading the conditions, he discovers the final reward will be based on his survival time and performance in that hostile environment. A smile of pure relief appears on the boy's face upon seeing that the class change was a success, and he mentally thanks the veteran for saving him once again. With his body still aching from the fall, he makes an effort to drag his feet and focus on his new reality. Opening his stats screen, Wuju excitedly discovers he has become a Necromancer apprentice, scoring a magic damage spell based on his spirit stat to boot. Beaming with joy and not caring about the dirt, he celebrates the success of his risky bet, knowing he is no longer an ordinary person forever. Analyzing his spell's crucial info, the MC notes the magic only has a 10-meter range, making him a very fragile target up close. Suddenly, the fragile wooden wall of the shed is completely shattered by a deafening crash. Fear takes over the boy, who sharply turns his head to face whatever caused that mess. A level 5 decaying ghoul bursts through the wreckage, letting out a wild roar with its eyes glowing an eerie shade. Shocked by the trouble knocking on his door in the very first minute, Wuju quickly backs away to try and keep a safe distance from the threat. He slides his feet back on the old wood, readying his stance to cast his first real magic spell. Focusing his newfound energy, the young man rapidly starts chanting the words to cast the destruction spell. But the monster is way too fast for a zombie and charges full force before the cast is done. The creature lands a super heavy punch right on the boy, breaking his focus and cutting the magic halfway. Unable to dodge that lightning-fast rush, Wuju learns the hard way that trying to attack from that close was a terrible mistake. The brutal hit throws the young man far back, making him cough hard and realize the beast's attack power greatly exceeds his predictions. He is hurled uncontrollably against the already flimsy boards of the shed's broken structure. The young man's body crashes through the side wall with a bang, tumbling awkwardly outside into a bleak, lifeless landscape. Lying on the dirty ground and clutching his chest, the MC feels unbearable pain, positive his ribs are about to snap. Knowing he will not survive another direct hit, he understands he needs to use this new distance to land a solid counterattack before it is too late. Ignoring the intense pain in his body, the young man tries to steady himself on the freezing ground as the monstrous silhouette steps out of the ruined shed. Completely focused on his own survival, he raises his shaking hand and restarts the spell's chant, drawing in swirling blue energy. The magic takes the shape of an ethereal fang and shoots out, tearing through the air like a missile straight at the zombie running his way. The strike hits the center of the opponent's chest dead on, piercing the decaying flesh with a precise impact. A victorious, relieved smile pops up on Wuju's face, celebrating the hit, but soon his expression turns to pure shock. The monster does not even seem to care about the gaping hole in its torso and keeps charging without skipping a beat, making the boy realize the heart is not a valid weak spot here. With an aggressive leap, the decaying ghoul launches itself at the MC with its jaws wide open, ready to make a meal out of him. The creature aggressively pins the young man against the hard ground, forcing a desperate, heavily mismatched physical struggle. The memory of the monster he almost lost his life fighting in the sewers fuels his drive, not to give up now against a new enemy. Furious, he yells that he bet his own life and future on this chance to get strong, refusing to end up as monster food in the middle of nowhere. Screaming for the beast to get off, the young man gathers every ounce of willpower he has left to turn things around. His expression is one of pure rage and determination, set on putting a permanent end to that overwhelming fight. With his palm flat and pressed right against the creature's decaying face, Wuju unleashes the full destruction magic at point-blank range. The blue energy bursts with an explosive impact, completely defeating the creature in one go. Lifeless and unsupported, the monster's ruined body is thrown back by the force of the blast, landing flat on the cold ground while the boy takes a deep breath. Panting and holding his injury, Wuju tries to catch his breath after this incredibly close call. Just then, the system confirms the level 5 target's elimination, warning him he was poisoned, but his class triggered an automatic resistance that lessened the effects. On top of that, the notification announces his extraction talent was finally unlocked, while a glowing loot orb appears floating near the defeated monster. The boy breaks into a surprised smile, finding it amazing that a creature like that actually dropped some gear. Wasting no time, he reaches out his injured hand and grabs the mysterious item glowing in the. The system reveals he got a skeleton staff, a perfect weapon for his new class that boosts mana regen and even grants a summoning skill. Thrilled with the stats, the young man celebrates that the regen and summoning show this staff was pretty much tailor-made for him. Hyped about the new ability to call forth a bone servant, he decides to test the spell right away. But a red warning ruins his joy, letting him know he does not have enough energy for the summon, since his reserve is almost empty. Leaning on the staff, he sighs that the moves he used earlier cost him almost his entire bar, realizing his mana runs out way too fast. Suddenly, he breaks into a wide smile, remembering his hidden talent that just activated, finding it crazy that he forgot about it. Checking the panel, he confirms extraction can be used on recently defeated targets, and has a chance to pull stats straight to him. Even hurt, the boy is beaming, claiming that being able to steal stats is exactly the kind of power a traveler from another world should have. However, noticing the technique costs 20 points of mana, he realizes he first needs to patch up his injury and find a safe hideout. His situation is critical, as he is badly hurt, poisoned, starving, and completely out of energy to fight. Gritting his teeth in pain, the MC rips a piece off his own torn shirt to use as a makeshift bandage. Using his mouth to tighten the fabric around his injured arm, he is fully aware he would not make it if another monster showed up now. With the wound tied up, Wuju approaches the headless ghoul lying on the dry dirt ground. Overcoming his disgust, he sticks his hand right into what is left of the creature's decaying neck. He rubs that grime onto his own face and neck, hoping the strong smell will mask his human presence in that place. The young man struggles to walk to an abandoned wooden shack, figuring he needs to recover his mana to use the extraction. Once safe inside, he sits leaning against the wall, calculating that he just needs to rest and focus on taking down strong targets to steal their stats. With a sharp, focused look, he is absolutely certain that becoming invincible is only a matter of time with this gift. As he rests, one of those decaying creatures slowly wanders past outside the cabin. Huddled in the shadows, the boy stays completely quiet, waiting for the danger to pass without being noticed. Time goes by and his energy bar gradually recovers thanks to his new staff's bonus. As soon as his reserve hits the required mark, he opens his eyes with resolve, telling himself the time has finally come. Standing up, he raises his glowing weapon and chants the magic words to cast the summoning spell for the first time. In an instant, a vortex of blue energy starts spinning intensely on the cabin's wooden floor. Out of the magical light emerges a small skeleton wearing rags, and the system shows the level 3 minion stats, indicating it acts as a tactical pawn. Looking at his new servant, the boy comments that it is cannon fodder with average stats, but feels a huge wave of relief to not be alone there anymore. With a smile on his face, he pats the minion's smooth head and decides to name it Wu Wei from now on. The MC reflects that spending so much time in that filthy sewer taught him that no one achieves anything great working without help. He looks at his bony partner, firmly stating that from today on, that little skeleton will be his main line of defense. But his stomach growls, reminding the young man that his stamina is dropping fast, and that staying hidden there will only lead to slowly fading away from hunger. Once outside, he deduces that if the secret challenge is all about survival, there must be resources scattered around the map to keep him going. As they walk across the wasteland, the young man is sure there must be strong targets near those items for him to steal stats from. During their careful exploration, the two sneak around and hide behind a large rock formation. The boy peeks over the rock very closely, scouting his surroundings so he does not get caught off guard. He spots a glowing treasure chest left in a totally suspicious way in front of a ruined house, thinking that trap is way too obvious. Even knowing the danger, he flashes a confident smile, seeing this as the first step to climbing out of rock bottom. Surveying the area with zero cover around, the MC figures dozens of zombies must be crammed inside waiting for their prey. To figure out how the enemies work, he orders his minion to slowly move forward and keep its eyes glued to the cabin at all times. Obeying without hesitation, the small undead steps out of hiding and walks toward the target, keeping the magical control active. The bony partner continues its lonely walk across the open field, steadily closing the gap to the dangerous resource chest. Once the minion crosses the 50-meter mark, the situation completely changes. A massive horde of decaying monsters busts through the front of the abandoned house, charging in a loud, aggressive way. Spooked by that avalanche of furious enemies, the boy immediately yells for his servant to pull back. Seeing that the overwhelming numbers make running away impossible due to the control limit, the young man decides to sacrifice the summon to learn their behavior. Hidden safely away, he watches the chase from a distance, accepting he has to pay a price if he wants to get stronger. With resolve, he gives the final order, telling his partner to turn around and face that crowd head-on. Without flinching, the brave tactical pawn spins on its heels and runs solo straight into the swarm of creatures. In a matter of seconds, the small minion is brutally overwhelmed and taken down by the furious wave of zombies. Upon getting the notification that his unit fell, the MC whispers a promise that the sacrifice will not be in vain. With the threat gone, the zombie horde loses focus and starts slowly making their way back to where they came from. Analyzing the exact spot where the chaos started, he concludes the monsters only go into rage mode if a target enters the 50-meter zone. A clever smile crosses his face, having already mapped out the perfect plan in his head with the intel he just gathered. Wasting no time, the young man steps out from behind the rock and chucks a rock hard at a lone monster trailing behind. While drawing the target in, he raises his magic staff and begins chanting the spell to bring his defense back. The flash of magic quickly appears on the ground, summoning the same bony partner ready for the next phase of the strategy. Tapping the summon lightly on the head, the boy jokes that this time he will pick a very simple name, calling him Urguzi. Pointing at the isolated zombie, he details exactly how the minion should provoke the creature, and the little guy nods, confirming he gets it. At that, a rock flies through the air and smacks the dry dirt right behind the decaying target. Following the plan to the letter, the small bone minion grabs more ammo and preps for the next throw. The second toss is dead on and hits the slow creature right in the back of the head, while it is turned away. Struck, the monster slowly turns its deformed face, clearly annoyed at whoever bothered it from afar. The small bone servant just stands there staring at the beast, perfectly playing its role as live bait in the strategy. Absolutely furious, the decaying ghoul lets out a scary roar and sprints like crazy at the cheeky summon. Instantly, the minion does a 180 and books it at top speed, dragging the aggressive target far away from the main horde. Hiding in a strategic spot, the MC watches it all and smiles in excitement, telling his partner to pick up the pace. The partner runs close to the giant rock where the young man waits with his weapon drawn, ready for the ambush. With his eyes locked on the approaching prey, the boy realizes the enemy fell right into the trap. Giving it no chance to defend, he swings the magic staff down violently, landing a crushing blow on the distracted creature's head. Positioned on top of the rock, the young man keeps a solid stance, checking out the damage his surprise attack caused. But the strike was not enough, and the zombie looks up with demonic eyes, growling fiercely as it gears up to return the favor. Without holding back, Wuju lands a brutal hit packed with magic energy right into the enemy. From the impact, the monster falls off the rock completely defeated, putting an instant end to the threat. The system confirms the win, handing out 6 points of experience, which gets him super hyped for winning without taking a scratch. Thrilled with the tactic, he figures he just needs to rinse and repeat to clear out all those opponents. Looking down at little Urguzi, the boy praises the great work and immediately sends the minion to fetch the next target. He does some quick math and figures 20 of those creatures would guarantee a level up, plus drop great materials for his talent. Full of confidence, the young man is certain that wiping out that group will bring a massive boost to his skills. But suddenly something changes, and a look of pure shock takes over his face. Scanning the open field, he panics upon seeing that his bony partner brought 5 monsters all at once to the ambush. Desperate about being outnumbered, the MC yells for the minion to run laps around the giant rock. Following the order right away, the little summon runs in circles with the furious horde hot on its heels. Meanwhile, the boy crouches down on the high structure and scoops up some large rocks from the ground. Without missing a beat, he hurls the makeshift projectiles as hard as he can at the creatures sprinting down below. Just then, one of the enemies notices the attack and tries to climb the rock, becoming the young man's top priority. Taking advantage of his high ground, he brings the magic staff down perfectly on the opponent, clearing the threat and securing more XP. The panic comes rushing back when the panel shows his magic reserve hit 0 at the absolute worst moment. Seeing his little servant still running from the remaining monsters, the young man knows the minion will not last if this drags on. Determined not to lose his helper, he leans over the edge of the stone structure. With a focused look full of resolve, the young man gears up to risk it all on a dangerous move. Without a second thought, he leaps from up high straight toward one of the decaying creatures. Mid-fall, the MC grips his weapon tight to do maximum damage on impact. Gravity does the heavy lifting and the staff hits the target dead on, dropping the opponent to the dry ground. However, the monster uses a wild reflex to grab the boy's arm and land a painful bite. A sharp pain shoots through his body, but the young man bites back a scream and refuses to back down. In a fit of rage and survival instinct, Wuju yells loudly while pushing his weapon even harder against the opponent. The agony from the wound fuels him, making him fight with everything he has to break free from that desperate situation. Filled with anger, he states he did not survive half a year in that filthy sewer just to lose here. Forcing the final blow, the young man makes it clear he didn't travel from another world just to become food for trash like that. The decisive strike finally takes care of the opponent, granting more XP and dropping a glowing reward orb. Totally drained and battered, the boy slumps down on the dirt floor, taking deep breaths while staring at the item he just scored. Still catching his breath, the MC reaches out a shaky hand and touches the glowing orb on the ground. The system announces he got a basic energy potion, pulling a smile of pure relief from the young man's face. Not hesitating for a single second, he pops the cap off the small vial with his teeth to save time. Downing the liquid in one go, the boy feels the magic's immediate effect working on his exhausted body. Recharged by the potion, he stands up confidently as a bluish aura starts glowing around him, restoring his strength. Focused on the battle that is not over yet, he turns his attention back to the three creatures still chasing his little summon. With magic pumping through his veins again, Wuju positions his hands and preps his destruction spells. The bone minion runs right past him, perfectly playing its role as live bait by drawing the enemies in. Showing unexpected tactical smarts, the little partner smoothly slides behind a large rock for cover. Capitalizing on the opening his helper made, the young man fires his blue energy right into the grouped-up pack. The simultaneous hit knocks all the opponents down at once, flooding the screen with victory notifications and a ton of earned XP. Noticing the item's region effect still has some time left, the young man decides to use this window to test his special gift. Pumped about the possibilities, the MC jogs over to where the creatures were taken down. With a quick motion, he holds his hand over the bodies and activates his highly desired extraction talent. Several system windows pop up instantly, confirming he collected some agility and letting him know he needs to learn how to apply it. Pretty confused by the vague warning, the boy stares at his own glowing hand and wonders how he is supposed to use that by himself. Exploring the floating options, he decides to mess around with the system interface to see if he finds a useful clue. The screen displays his stacked stats, making him think about which stat would be best to upgrade with the points he gathered. Just then, he spots a small advance button on the screen, suspecting the talent does way more than just boost basic stats. Driven by curiosity, the MC taps the glowing panel to uncover his ability's true secrets. A massive wave of surprise hits him as he finds out he can buff his own spells, proving this gift is insanely overpowered. Looking at it logically, he figures using such a low amount on himself would barely make a difference in an actual fight. Glancing at his bony partner, the young man forms a theory that investing in the summoning magic might make the minion directly stronger. Determined to do a field test, he taps the button linked to his servant calling skill. The panel confirms the target selection right away, leaving the boy visibly excited about the possibilities. Reading the details, he is thrilled to learn he can transfer the points straight to the creature, funneling all the power into his ally. The joy vanishes instantly when the system demands copper coins to complete the action, making him freak out over this unexpected fee. Swallowing his frustration for the moment, his eyes turn serious, knowing he has to spend his resources if he wants to survive. With no other viable option, he clicks confirm and watches his precious copper coins get deducted by the platform. Right away, an aura of energy surrounds the minion, while alerts pop up saying its stats increased and the servant can be maintained for free. Super hyped about his partner's upgrade, Wuju gives the command to keep hunting across the wasteland. The small servant charges in full force, attacking a decaying ghoul with surprising speed and power. Right behind providing full backup, the boy lands a clean hit on the back of another clueless opponent's neck. Working in perfect sync, the duo manages to take the monsters down quickly and way more efficiently than before. The battlefield turns into a real light show of blue magic, proving how much their teamwork improved the flow of combat. After taking down countless targets non-stop, they both stand there catching their breath in an area finally cleared of threats. Suddenly, a bright pillar of light shines down on the MC, signaling that all that non-stop grinding paid off. The system celebrates his achievement, announcing he hit level 2 and his max energy capacity was successfully expanded. However, the hype turns into total disappointment when he sees the stat boost was tiny, feeling the reward is pretty unfair given the hard work. Accepting the sad truth of his slow growth, he walks over to the fallen bodies and starts absorbing the available resources. The hidden talent quickly does its job, pulling more precious agility stats straight into the boy's inventory. Without missing a beat, he spends a few more copper coins and transfers his recent gains directly to his bone partner. Shocked upon checking his helper's profile, the young man realizes the minion's growth is getting absolutely crazy. With this in mind, he sticks to the routine of looting every single target they take down in the desert area without losing focus. Taking advantage of the collected loot, the young man downs another small magic potion to heal his recent injuries and instantly restore his stamina. Squeezing the empty vial in his hand, the boy acknowledges that the healing potion was exactly what he needed to bounce back. But the memory of the brutal hit he took from the last monster still weighs heavily on his mind. Knowing full well that an elite opponent of that size cannot be underestimated under any circumstances. The pressure of the situation makes him break a cold sweat, understanding he needs to save his trump card for the most critical moment of the fight. His eyes fill with pure determination, proving he is completely locked in on his ultimate goal of surviving that test. Scouting the ruined village from above, Wuju surveys the area and notices he has already cleared out all the zombies scattered around the map's edges. With the perimeter secure, he concludes it is finally time to deal with the massive main horde. Drawing up a plan in the dry dirt, the young man explains that those creatures' biggest weakness is their complete lack of intelligence. Using this detail to his advantage, he orders his partner to dig as many holes as possible along the route mapped out on the ground. The young man stands up confidently and turns back to face the sea of freaks gathered near the abandoned houses. Without blinking, the small bone servant starts digging furiously using a broken piece of wood. 2 hours of heavy lifting later, the open field is turned into a veritable minefield of small traps. Highly satisfied with the result, the boy pats the minion's head and praises the excellent work it pulled off. Soon the mood gets super tense again, with the MC warning in a serious tone that their fate will be decided right on the spot. Wasting not a single second more, he gives the final command for the little skeleton to charge and pull absolutely every enemy in the village at once. Playing its role as bait flawlessly, the bony partner stomps hard on the ground right near the clustered horde. The sudden noise instantly grabs the attention of all the decaying monsters around the wooden structure. Completely enraged, the monsters take off in a wild sprint after the little summon fleeing at top speed. From a distance, Wuju yells desperately for his helper not to stray and to follow the planned route exactly. The strategy works perfectly, and the dumb creatures start tripping and tumbling straight into the hidden ditches. The minion keeps up the intense running pace, while the platform's alerts confirm several enemies have already been taken out along the way. Pumped about the trap's incredible success, the boy orders the servant to keep running without ever looking back. Behind him, the horde slowly thins out as more ghouls clumsily faceplant into the holes, scattered across the dry terrain. The battlefield devolves into absolute chaos, proving that all that immense effort of digging for 2 hours was worth every drop of sweat. The panel soon logs over 20 eliminations in a row, but the MC's attention is hijacked by something strange emerging from the middle of that crowd. A colossal creature violently pushes its way through, tossing the smaller monsters aside with total ease. Recognizing the massive threat, the young man fearfully confirms that the elite big guy has finally decided to join the game. Grabbing a heavy rock from the ground, he gets super curious about what kind of absurd stat he could steal from an opponent like that. Completely focused on his tactic, he readies to throw the projectile, calculating that he needs to wipe out the smaller group before trying to face the boss. The throw is super precise and the rock nails a random passing zombie right in the head, drawing all of its aggression. Ticked off by the long-range insult, the monster changes direction and charges furiously toward the boy's position. Keeping a cool stance, the MC channels his magic into his staff and casts his offensive spell, calling upon the massive power of destruction. The powerful attack rips through the air and hits the opponent's head directly, dropping the creature with a single crushing blow. In that exact moment, a beautiful pillar of light wraps around the young man, indicating he reached the highly coveted level 3 and earned a nice max energy bonus. Reading the system's magic notifications, he flashes a wide grin seeing he unlocked the skill inheritance from his hidden gift. His hype hits the absolute ceiling when the screen reveals his magic control leveled up, letting him call out 2 summons at the same time. On top of that incredible news, Little Urguzi also gets a direct buff thanks to the link bonus with its newly promoted master. Bursting with fresh, intense energy, the bony partner gains insane speed and blasts across the battlefield at full force. Quickly analyzing the newly acquired tactical edge, Wuju declares that wiping out the rest of that horde is top priority right now. Wasting not a single precious second, he raises his glowing weapon and chants the spell to bring in the second backup for the heavy brawl. From the swirling energy on the ground emerges a new bone servant with a faint blue aura, immediately getting dubbed Sanguzi. Forming his own little tactical squad, the makeshift commander gives the attack order to his two relentless soldiers. Working flawlessly as a team, the minion duo aggressively rushes the remaining enemies to completely scrub the area. Just then, one of the nimble zombies manages to slip past the blockade and leaps with sharp claws aimed right at the isolated MC. However, the young man does not back up a single inch and hits back by swinging his heavy staff firmly, smacking the attacker midair. The violent impact slams the creature hard onto the solid ground, neutralizing the immediate danger highly efficiently. Staring at the lifeless body at his feet, the young man sighs in relief for managing to defend himself solo and in time. A wave of exhaustion hits out of nowhere, and he quickly downs another magic potion vial to restock his vital energy spent in the clash. But a booming crash behind him makes him quickly turn his head to see where the new threat is coming from. With a massive, terrifying jump, the huge elite monster flies through the air, crashing down right toward the assembled group. Gripping his weapon with total confidence in his eyes, the boy smirks mockingly, pointing out that now only the big guy is left to take a beating. Driven completely insane with rage, the freak lets out a guttural roar that makes the ground around it shake from all the built-up pressure. Backed by his two loyal helpers, the MC focuses all his newly restored magic and fires his absolute best destruction spell. However, the blue energy hits the giant's stomach and just scatters into a harmless flash against the formidable opponent's thick skin. The system warning that the enemy has gone berserk pops up, and the young man realizes in total shock that this thing's defense is way too high for a normal attack. The massive monster bellows again, feeling insulted by that weak hit and locking all its relentless aggression on the cocky young man. Using its freakish size and weight, the creature brings both massive fists down with crushing force right at the fragile target. Acting on pure survival instinct, Wuju quickly slides to the side and fires another magic projectile trying to find any viable opening. This time the attack hits the colossal beast right in the face, sparking a concentrated blast directly in the imposing enemy's eye. Immediate frustration washes over the MC as he notices that not even two direct hits were enough to put a real scratch on the beast's defense. Unwilling to accept this terrible situation, the boy screams in rage and blasts another magic volley with absolutely everything he has. The giant beast swings back a colossal bone club, forcing the young man to duck to the extreme to dodge that crushing blow. Seizing the tiny window left by his quick dodge, the blue projectile curves up and strikes directly into the giant opponent's vulnerable throat. Panic strikes the young man hard when he realizes the monster barely felt the hit, and now there is zero room to dodge the counterattack. In a brutal and sudden move, the giant lands a devastating kick that sends the MC and his summon flying far through the... Luckily, one of his brave minions manages to grab onto the big guy's leg, creating the perfect opening the boy needed to turn the fight around for good. Jumping incredibly high, Wuju channels a massive amount of dark energy into his hand and calls forth the true shadowy form of his destruction magic. The ethereal blade comes down with surgical precision and strikes deeply into the creature's eye, dealing critical damage to the so-called impenetrable defense. Taking the impact of this colossal attack, the elite monster completely loses its balance and crashes flat on its back onto the dirt floor with immense force. Totally drained by the effort, the young man lands skidding across the dry dirt as a thick dust cloud sweeps over the ruined battlefield. The magic system spams critical alerts nonstop, showing that his health and energy hit an extremely dangerous low after that heroic stunt. Without any warning, a vile zombie hiding in the dust leaps furiously at the boy's back while he is still trying to shake off the fall. In a desperate bid to save himself from the ambush, the young man bites the cap off a potion and tries to chug the magic liquid as fast as he can. But there is no time for the healing effect to kick in, and the enemy lands a hit, striking his chest hard, tearing a painful scream of pure agony from the depths of his soul. The situation turns into a downright absurd nightmare when the freak's massive body cowardly grabs him and hoists him up without giving him a fighting chance. Being lifted off the ground with zero chance to defend, Wuju summons the power of the end right in the massive monster's face. The beast opens its jaws wide, ready to swallow him whole, but the boy acts fast and strikes his staff right into the creature's mouth, unleashing all his destruction magic. An intense blast of blue energy erupts from the inside out, taking the opponent's head clean out. The impact is devastating, leaving the elite monster totally paralyzed and smoking. Out of strength, the massive freak falls heavily backward, letting go of the young man in the process. The MC hits the ground hard, landing on his back and getting the wind completely knocked out of him. Totally wiped out from the extreme effort, he tries to catch his breath after almost losing his life. Right then, the system confirms the elite target was successfully taken down, rewarding 30 points of experience. His bone minion slowly walks over, making its trademark clicking sounds as it steps. Little Urguzi stops beside its fallen master, staring at the young man's pitiful state on the ground. Using the defeated giant's leg as leverage, Wu Ju makes a huge effort to sit up, while his bony partner tries to lend a hand. A healing aura wraps around his battered body, bringing the relief that chugging the potion right before the final blow was what actually saved his life. The minion tilts its head, not really getting what is going on. Super stoked about the outcome, the boy high-fives the skeleton, celebrating that they finally beat an elite opponent. Turning his focus to the giant carcass, he shows tons of hype and claims he cannot wait to check out the loot. Holding his hand over the remains, the young man triggers his extraction talent without wasting time. The system announces he gained stats and an elite fragment, leaving him amazed at his ability's power to pull such rare stuff. However, the unmistakable noise of a new wave of enemies closing in grabs the duo's attention. Master and minion lock eyes for a brief second, perfectly understanding what needs to be done. With his confidence back, the young man decides this is the perfect time to finish cleaning up and wring out everything this realm has to offer. Teaming up, the two charge full speed at the remaining opponents. The boy wields the staff with insane skill, landing a crushing blow on one of the monsters. Riding the momentum of his swing, he delivers a powerhouse kick that instantly drops another enemy. 10 minutes of heavy fighting go by, and the MC calls the battle off, even though he is bummed out by the ridiculously low amount of loot left by so many enemies. Yet two glowing orbs catch his eye, proving the big guy dropped a special reward. Driven by curiosity, he walks over to where the giant fell to check out the prize. The first item is a nice pouch holding 300 copper coins, filling his hands with wealth. Turning to the second drop, he looks even more surprised. It is a tough leather armor, which actually provides partial immunity to those creatures' poison. The joy fades fast when a red warning locks him out of using it, making the boy complain loudly about it being an exclusive warrior item. Staring at his bone minion, an out-of-the-box idea pops into his head about the class restriction. Without hesitating, he adjusts the leather straps and equips the armor right onto his small partner. The summon strikes a bold, refreshed pose, now super well protected by the sturdy gear. Highly satisfied, the young man praises the look and cheers that the elite item did not go to waste. With his helper buffed up, his gaze turns serious as he announces it is time to hunt down that area's real jackpot. Searching the surroundings, he finds a crystal-clear spring and a hidden wooden chest. The system details that the water restores magic energy and the fruits there replenish physical stamina. Hyped up, he unlocks the heavy box, revealing a highly valuable magic skill book. Reading up on the skill proves the young man will finally have a major tactical edge to analyze his targets before jumping into a fight. To keep his strength up, he picks a few fresh fruits from the nearest tree. Splashing his face at the clean spring, the boy jokes that this is actually a life worth living. Munching on the food, he plans to max out that infinite magic supply in the sea of fallen monsters scattered around the map. With a confident snap of his fingers, he declares the time has come for the ultimate stat harvest. A long process kicks off, alternating between absorbing resources from downed enemies, hydrating at the spring, and heavy coin investments to buff his summon even more. Resting after the grind, the MC concludes a normal person would never get past that horde, proving his growth gift is the cheat code to win. Checking the minion's updated status, he predicts that if it keeps leveling like this, he will soon have an invincible army at his command. Suddenly, a floating notification informs him the survival challenge's time limit is almost up. 3 whole days go by in the desolate secret realm. From the top of a structure, the young man reflects on how he managed to clear out several monster nests thanks to his minion, greatly boosting his proficiency. The panel makes the deadline official, offering the choice to leave that hostile environment. Fully resolved, the boy accepts the exit without a second thought. The platform rapidly starts tallying up all his achievements, bumping up his final score for wiping out a whole horde. Thrilled with the insane rank he got, he gets swallowed by a pillar of magic light that teleports him back home. In the real world, the massive Necromancer Alliance branch building starts its 3rd day of business. In the main office, the veteran who helped the boy earlier stares at an artifact looking stressed, doubting the young man will make it back alive. The loud squeak of the door opening shatters the silence in the office. A red-haired woman walks into the room oozing authority, instantly recognized as the pro-Joe Huaming. Walking up to the desk, she states in a super formal tone that he is being summoned to answer for his severe negligence with the dark class scroll. Having zero patience for excuses, the newcomer slams her hand on the desk, showing total dominance over the situation. With a swift move, the woman tosses a pair of heavy handcuffs right in front of the veteran, coldly ordering him to lock himself up. Trying to defend himself, the veteran argues he followed standard protocol and already sent the full mission report to the board. The woman confirms she read the files, mocking the absurd strategy of handing a dangerous item to an ordinary person just to bait members of a dark cult. With absolute disgust, she makes it clear she thinks that whole excuse is a massive lie. To hammer her impatience home, she punches the desk again, demanding straight answers. The pro leans forward and aggressively questions where the guinea pig is, since according to the deadline, the boy should be back today. Making herself comfortable, she announces she has plenty of time to sit back and see if his little risky gamble actually survived. 10 minutes of tension drag on until the comm cylinder in the man's hands begins to glow brightly. Holding the glowing artifact, he listens to the woman taunt him, asking if he is too scared to check the tragic results. Firmly turning down her help, the veteran states he will check it himself. With a quick command, he projects a massive holographic screen on the office wall to display the secret realm's data. Full of himself, the man proves his protege managed to make it out of the trial safe and sound. Getting off the couch, she gives a sarcastic round of applause and demands he follows her to the interrogation deck right now. The woman flips the tone of the conversation and reveals the real reason behind her visit was not just to arrest her coworker. However, shock washes over her face as she finally reads the detailed stats on the holo screen. Realizing an ordinary rookie managed to score a top-tier grade on the survival test leaves the investigator totally stunned, staring at the projection. Trying to take control of the room, the veteran thumps his chest and declares the boy is a silver rank and strictly his responsibility. The investigator mocks his sloppy plan, but the man steps in her way, refusing to hand the young man over to some crazy woman who just wants to use him. Suddenly, the veteran's eyes go wide as he feels a massive surge of energy pop up right behind him. Surprise also hits the woman, who shifts her attention to the bright flash lighting up the office. A magic pillar of light drops right into the room, bringing the MC back from the secret realm completely unharmed. The teleport aura slowly fades, showing the young man's exhausted body and torn clothes. Glad to be alive, Wuju recognizes the veteran instantly and genuinely thanks him for saving his life. Eyeballing the rookie suspiciously, the investigator judges him as just a necromancer apprentice with a totally generic profile. She straight up asks how someone so mediocre pulled off such a high score fighting decaying ghouls. 10 minutes of explaining take place in the office, with the boy revealing he got lucky finding a skeleton staff right off the bat. Trying to prove his point, he swears he used the potions he found on the way and is summoned to wipe the map, acting confused about why she is so suspicious. The woman does not buy the story, finding it way too convenient that healing items were sitting in the exact right spot when he needed them most. Pacing the room, she highly doubts a single basic skeleton took down a level 5 monster by itself. Pissed off, she points a finger, calling the young man a liar, since issuing commands and chanting spells at the same time is an advanced technique that takes geniuses decades to master. Out of patience with being called a liar, the young man just fires up his magic and summons his little bone partner right in the middle of the office to back up his words. The small servant quickly scrambles across the desk, showing off agility way above normal for its tier. Working in flawless sync with its master, the summon snatches a red apple sitting in the fruit bowl. The minion tosses the fruit into the air with precision, while the boy keeps absolute control of the situation. Using one hand, the MC catches the apple while simultaneously funneling his destructive energy into the other. The blue magic tears through the air and blasts the wall head-on, proving he can actually focus on two things at once. The veteran's jaw drops, realizing the ridiculous skill level the rookie achieved in a mere 3 days. Taking a casual bite of the fruit, the young man makes a joke out of it, asking if that is not something anyone can do. A drop of sweat rolls down the investigator's face, who finally swallows her pride, realizing she is looking at a true raw talent. Very pleased with the show, the veteran flashes a proud smile for having bet on the right kid. Soon after, the trio heads down to a massive guild training center to put the young man's skills to a real test. Pointing to the facility, the woman explains the place was built exactly to test pros right after their class chain. Nudging the boy forward gently, the veteran hypes him up to show what he is really made of without holding anything back. Feeling super confident in his skills, Wuju calls his bony partner out onto the test track. The little skeleton sprints down the lane at max speed, nimbly dodging all the obstacles. Using the distraction his helper causes, the young man raises his hand and fires a pinpoint spell at the field's targets. Showing off the results of his invested points, the servant lands an incredibly heavy punch on the moving defense blocks. The impact is so hard it rocks the training rig, confirming the little creature's unusual brute strength. Finishing off the combo, the destructive spell nails the center of the target flawlessly, wrapping up the practical dem. Totally out of mana and panting, the MC takes a deep breath, happily noticing his minion's skill is almost hitting level 2. Checking the data the machine spit out, the veteran hands the full report right to the woman. He proudly points out that the rookie's proficiency is miles above average for beginners, asking if the boss is finally satisfied. Reading the sheet, the investigator is forced to admit the young man's magic control is genius level, growing at a scary pace. Despite the praise, she whispers a complaint that the basic Necromancer class severely caps his future potential. Curious about the young man's choices, she asks why he decided to bail on the secret realm instead of clearing more zones, since he obviously had the power to do it. Rubbing the back of his neck, the boy makes up a quick excuse, claiming he thought things were too dangerous and opted not to risk his life out of greed. The woman processes the answer, figuring the young man is just super cautious, which completely counters her initial suspicions. Satisfied with the grilling, the investigator turns her back and walks down the hall, muttering that this rookie is pretty weird. The veteran watches his boss disappear from sight, feeling massive relief as the pressure finally vanishes. Putting a hand on his protege's shoulder, he lets out a huge sigh and celebrates that they managed to dodge that bullet. Agreeing with the older guy, Wu Ju lets out a nervous laugh, knowing full well he had to lie to hide his true power. With the tension gone, the boy flashes a sneaky smile and tells the veteran it is now time to settle their tab. Totally confused by the random demand, the man has no clue what the rookie is talking about. Throwing a massive tantrum, the young man drops to the floor and hugs the older guy's leg, whining loudly about getting paid for risking his life. Having zero patience for the drama, the boss drags the young man by the feet down the hallway, marching straight into the disciplinary squad's office. The office door slams shut, followed by sounds of chaos and the boy desperately apologizing for the scene he caused. Booted out of the room with a solid kick, the MC hears the veteran order him to never pull an embarrassing stunt like that again. Straightening up the official uniform he just received, he reads the notification that he is now a guild intern, deciding the beating was totally worth it. Walking down the halls of his new workplace, he carries a stack of documents, sighing over getting handed a mission on his very first day. Feeling the weight of the job, he promises to bust his chops at work so he does not embarrass the guy who gave him this huge break. The scene cuts to the massive Nanshan base, a modern complex dedicated solely to training newly awakened pros. The boy is put to work undercover in the facility's library, since that was the exact place the Dark Scroll popped up weeks ago. Leaning on the front desk, he figures his boss stuck him in this boring department just to act as bait for a potential hidden cultist. The issue is he has spent a whole week just organizing books without getting a single detailed plan, feeling frustrated by the lack of tactical backup. Pushing the book cart across the room, he figures the veteran didn't abandon him, but just left things open to avoid tipping off the enemies. A clever smile full of ulterior motives creeps onto his face, as he decides to use this total freedom to run things his own way. Locked in on his personal goal to get stronger, the boy opens the system panel, itching to fix the fact he has been stuck at the same level for days. He closely checks the floating window showing all his Necromancer apprentice stats. After grinding hard during a week of boring work, he finally managed to unlock the magic meditation skill. Besides the new perk, his perfect score on the survival test paid out 50 silver coins, leaving him with a fat wallet. Looking ahead, the young man realizes pumping this hard-earned cash into his extraction talent will make the bone minion's levels skyrocket. The digital clock signals the end of his shift, bringing huge relief that he survived another round of that snooze-fest cover job. Packing his stuff into his bag, the young man plans to ask for some time off to focus on buying crucial tactical supplies. A dark, determined look takes over his face as he decides to get his hands dirty to actually level up. Walking out the complex's front doors, he opens his digital wallet, feeling super confident about the cash he stacked up. Punching his palm, he hypes himself up that all that money will be more than enough to wreck the enemies. However, reality hits him like a truck when he steps into the shop and sees basic potions cost an absolute fortune. The panic scales up as he scans the shelves and realizes low-tier gear has insane price tags way out of his budget. Shaking with anger, he tries to keep a fake smile on, knowing that district's prices are steep, but thinking this is straight-up highway robbery. Looking at an energy region necklace, he figures he technically has the cash for it, but the item's buff does not justify the dent it would put in his wallet. After haggling hard and doing the math, the MC slaps 20 silver coins on the counter and walks out with a modest kit of potions and gear for his next run. Holding his small shopping bag, Wuju deeply regrets blowing 20 silver coins, remembering it would take 2 whole years of working in the sewers to save up that crazy amount. Having accepted the hit to his funds, the boy packs his gear and decides to rush toward District 5, completely focused on leveling up to make his money back. As he walks down a busy shopping street, he figures taking this shortcut will shave a good chunk of time off his trip. But a wave of shock hits the MC when he peeks into a dark alley and spots a creepy hooded figure selling sketchy vials on the ground. Pretty stressed by the weird vibe, he keeps wondering how it is even possible for a hidden stall to exist in a spot like that. The stranger's aura is insanely heavy, putting out a scary pressure that instantly intimidates the young man and makes him break into a cold sweat. Feeling extremely nervous, the young man tries to act cool, telling himself over and over not to stop or make eye contact with the shady figure. In a huge rush to get out of there, he walks faster, terrified the bazaar vendor might force him to buy some junk if he pays attention. Leaving the danger in the dust, he keeps walking through the city's cramped streets until he finally nears his actual destination. Soon the boy stops in front of a colossal metal gate, letting out a sigh of relief for making it to District 5 in one piece. Totally locked in on his mission, the young man taps his employee card on the security panel to unlock the complex's entrance. The system clears his credential instantly, causing the massive armored doors to slide open with a deafening mechanical grind. Checking his access pass, he excitedly confirms he is about to step into the infamous skeleton cave. With that, the MC is absolutely sure his grand leveling journey has finally started for real. Without hesitating for a single second, he pushes into the cave's deep shadows, ready to smash any threat that gets in his way.